Well, we work with about 100 communities in the U.S., but one that has done some really interesting work around welcoming refugees that I think is sort of an unusual suspect is the city of Boise, Idaho. I love the surprise on your face in my saying that. And it's an interesting story because about 8 years ago, Boise had seen a large resettlement of refugees, and all of a sudden they reached this sort of tipping point where the community said, ooh, we're not so sure about this. And that's a message that we're hearing in a lot of places. But the community really rallied and created a plan to really turn around the conversation from being one of scarcity to one of how do we really build our capacity to do this in a successful way. And the end result of that was this community plan that has now been revised. There's a group in Boise called Neighbors United, which is really continuing to bring the community together with this shared vision of being an inclusive place and working across a range of services and sectors to make the quality of life better for refugees and better for everyone. And the mayor, David Beater, has this vision of Boise being one of the most, if not the most livable community in the country. And he talks about how this effort to welcome refugees and welcome all people in Boise is really a key part of getting to that. You know, for them it was, and I think we've seen this in a lot of other communities, it's really about beginning to listen and bring the community to the table. So they spent a lot of time really digging in. What were the concerns that people had? How could we overcome those challenges? I think now a lot of the work is really focused on identifying some shared values in the community and talking about how refugees and being a welcoming place for refugees is really consistent with those values. Another key piece of that has been really beginning to build relationships across difference. We know that in a lot of places, those relationships don't happen naturally when you have new people settling in a community. And so there needs to be an intentional effort to really build bridges, whether it's through dinners or on the soccer field or at a university, bringing students together. It's really important to really be building contact and relationships of trust between newcomers and longtime residents. So I think one of the things that communities that are encountering backlash or some challenges around resettling refugees, one of the things that they can learn from Boise is, first of all, that it's possible to really change a community climate. And also that when you're successful in doing that, it creates all kinds of benefits, not just for refugees, but really for the community as a whole. And I'll just add that we have some really good data on what some of those benefits can be. Columbus, for example, the city of Columbus, who's been resettling refugees for a long time, just did an economic impact study and discovered that over $1 billion in economic impact comes from their resettlement program. So some exciting news. Welcoming America recognizes that becoming a welcoming community means moving along a spectrum, and communities are in a different place. So for a community that's just starting down this road, being an immigrant-friendly place and doing things that are symbolic, mayor saying affirmatively, this is who we are, this is what our values are as a community, makes a really significant difference. But once you've moved on from just the symbolic part of being an immigrant-friendly place, it's really important to start taking measurable action. So I think being an immigrant-competent community means, by design, looking at your policies to make sure that they are truly inclusive and reduce the barriers that newcomers face, that actively seek to create bridges between longtime residents and newcomers. And also creating a sense of belonging where everybody feels like they belong in a community and can really be part of building its future. Well, I think the best thing I've heard so far today is that there really is a movement afoot of people and of cities that recognize that being inclusive is in their best interest, socially, economically, civically. And I think that that's really affirming to know that, whether you're in Canada or in the US or in Germany, other parts of the world, that there are other like-minded colleagues who believe that we can create better communities for everyone.